understanding what the moon symbolizes is like a good foundation point, because even if you don't know all the details of how to work with the transiting moon, you have a moon and it has needs.
I love today's episode because it really demystifies the concept of magic and offers simple, powerful ways that you can tap into the power of magic in your everyday life. In this episode, astrologer, author, and current Inner Circle astrologer Rachel Lang, who wrote the book Modern Day Magic, 8 Simple Rules to Realize Your Power and Shape Your Life, she will teach you, number 1, what magic really is, beyond ideas of hocus pocus and images of witches in dark caverns with bubbling brews. She'll help you understand what helps you access magic in your everyday life and also what blocks you from the magic that is always available to you. She's going to talk about what makes magic evil or dark and how you can avoid this trap. We'll talk about your natal moon and how you can use your understanding of this to identify what you are magically attracting into your life. We'll cover the moon cycle and how to work with the moon's movement, and make sure you stay until the end because Rachel shares examples of rituals you can do depending on what element the moon is in. It is a packed episode with so much goodness. And if you're attracted to these concepts, make sure you check out our new tier of Inner Circle membership called Grow. It's perfectly designed for those of you who are short on time, but big on desire to create more magic in your life and to use astrology as a tool for personal growth. Inner Circle Grow is the most accessible way to stay meaningfully in tune with cosmic rhythms and with yourself, so you can work with the rhythms of nature, not against them. You have a few more days to become a founding member and lock in the lowest pricing for this new membership level that we will ever offer. The link to learn more and join is in the description of the episode, or you can go to astrologyhub.com/grow to learn more and join us today. Now sit back and enjoy this awesome, magical episode of the Astrology Hub podcast. So Rachel, welcome to the Astrology Hub podcast. I'm so happy that you've joined us here today.
Thanks so much, Amanda. And it's always so great to be with you. So I really love what your show is about. I love any conversation I have with you is always a joy.
Oh, same here, Rachel. So there's a lot of different ideas and ways that people talk about magic. What do you mean when you talk about magic?
Yeah, such a great question. To answer this question, I'm going to tie in a couple of different definitions that really shaped my own definition. One is Dion Fortune wrote that magic is the art of changing consciousness at will. And so consciousness is in the idea realm. It's in the imaginal realm. And that translates into what happens in our everyday lives. Then I also love Caroline Casey's definition, which is the willingness to participate with everything. And my own definition, which is informed by those and by just my own practice of magic, is that magic is the inherent power that we all have, that exists within us and that exists in the world, all around us in created reality, that brings us into wondrous relationship with all life. So wonder, awe, these are when we experience our connection to our interconnectedness with the divine, with the cosmos, with the things that are happening in our lives, when we see signs and symbols, or we see angel numbers on repeat, or we have bird encounters. That's what I'm talking about by being in relationship. And how can you have those kinds of experiences, those deja vu moments, or the moment when the phone rings and you know who it is and it's someone you've been thinking about? How can you not have those experiences and feel wonder, feel like you're a part of something? And so magic can be focused. It's a creative energy. It's a power. It's connected to the deeply feeling and sensual realms. It's connected to what we might think of as our eros or as our erotic power. And I'm not talking just about the, erotic in the way that some of us think about it. I'm talking about it in, eros is the embodiment of spirit in the form of love. So magic ties us into extreme feeling states, times when we are transcending our own intellect and our own ego, but not transcending leaving out. Magic brings us into our bodies. And that's where we feel those connections. And one last thing I'll say about magic is that it has been a spiritual revolution. We have seen how so many of, since 2016, when Neptune entered Pisces in 2012, that started to really bring a shift. And in 2016, we saw a lot of people being very open about using magic in the political context, in social context. You saw magical activism becoming really powerful. And I have a lot of theories about why that is. But one, I think, is that it's the force that we need right now. Because when we're working with magic, we really are co-creating our lives. We're not just victims to what's happening in our lives. We are a part of what's happening. We're a part of shaping our own destinies and our own future, and the future of the world, where the world is going on a global level. That's a long answer to your question.
It's such a good answer, though. Thank you. I mean, that really clears up a lot of misconceptions about, witches in dark corners doing hocus pocus spells. And I mean, it has nothing to do with that, really, from the definitions that you just gave. Rachel, what blocks us from our magic? Because a lot of the things you just brought up are simple, everyday, natural occurrences that, if we want to, could be a part of our daily life. Why isn't it? What blocks us from accessing that magical realm of life?
Yeah. Another great question. So actually, I'm going to tie in what you were just talking about, how the misconception of what people think magic is. And I wrote a book about magic. And in writing my book and in my graduate work, I did a lot of research on, what is magic? Why has magic been, the most marginalized spiritual practice? And the history of magic explains a lot about why we block it, or why we're not open to it. And so the word magic itself dates back to, I think, 500 BCE. And it was first used by the Romans to downplay the spiritual practices of the Persians. And so magic was used in a derogatory form. Since then, and then from that time, the Christians used it against the Jewish people. The Jewish people used it against the pagans. Every religion and every organized group has accused their opponents of practicing magic. And So, and then if you take it into the colonial, so this is all about colonialism. So, what was happening at that time is that borders were being established and jurisdictions were being set up. So there was land ownership involved. And if you could make the spiritual practices of the people you were trying to take land from, if you could make those evil or bad or antithetical to your own spiritual practice, the spiritual practices of your group, then you could dehumanize entire groups of people. So then we get to the witch trials were happening along in this, from about the 1100s to the mid 1600s, 1700s with Salem. And so you had witches being burned. So we carry all of this trauma, all of this cultural ideology. We carry this in our subconscious minds. And that has led us to fear our own power and to give our power to priests and pastors and religious orders that that we've been told hold the truth or the true spirituality. But all of that has started to change. And so fear is one of the biggest things that blocks us. But the fear is all related to that long history.
Would you also say our overemphasis on logic and the mind and, things that can be proven or quantified, would you also say that contributes to our blocking of the magical realms?
Absolutely, yes. And I didn't even mention the Enlightenment period, which was a time when you have Descartes and others writing, "I think, therefore I am," and so the privileging of logic and reason and science over spirit and intuition, and so that plays into it too. Yeah. One thing I'll say is that my focus for my research and my own experience is really rooted in my Western upbringing. There are groups, there are indigenous cultures, there are different cultures have not lost their connection to magic, and so when I'm saying this, I'm also acknowledging that magic has survived. It lives. Many of us, even in Western cultures, we grew up with our grandmothers, doing very witchy things, what we might consider witchy things, and so I feel like women have held on to a lot of those traditions, even if we keep them undercover. And also, magic finds a way to work in our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. Mm.
Rachel, what about the objection that magic is evil or it can be used for dark purposes? How do you differentiate between using magic for the light and using magic for the dark? Like, where is that line?
Yeah. I have a whole chapter in my book called Embrace Your Dark Side. And and it talks about that it's important to have an integration of light and dark, that the dark isn't all bad. I think intention is everything. Some people do work with, magic is a spiritual power, and our egos can get into anything that we do. But if you're coming to it and your intentions are not to harm people, and I always say, in every ritual that I do, I always offer a little clause, like an indemnification clause. I don't want to hurt anybody. No inadvertent. Everything in the best possible light. In a way that doesn't compromise anybody's will. And so I think it's. If we think about magic as being that co-creative force, and we think about magic as it can be it can be focused, or it can just happen in our lives. I think there's no difference between sitting in the car and fuming about somebody and intending harm, and sitting in a ritual with a voodoo doll and poking holes. It's attention. Magic works with our attention and intention. And so I want to dispel the myth that magic is all bad. People coming from a wounded place are going to do things that hurt other people. And I think that when we take the concept of like black magic, when we deconstruct it and see that it's really coming from a fractured place within our psyches or within the psyche of the world, then it doesn't have to be something that we fear about ourselves. We all have the potential to harm. We all have the potential to harm in really bad, destructive ways. When we look at the world right now, we can see the very worst of that potential playing out in circumstances, in shootings and things like that. And we also have the incredible power to heal. and it's my own worldview and my own belief, because I have a Jupiter moon conjunction, that more people are setting intentions and holding their attention oriented toward peace and toward the life pursuit of happiness, the human flourishing of all. So let's not focus our attention on the potential, the small potential we have to harm, and let's focus our attention and offer intentions for what we want to create in the world and the world that we want to leave behind to future generations.
I love that. Thank you. I'm so glad that we addressed that. I know your mastery class teaching in the inner circle is all about the moon. And this mastery class is going to be available to all inner circle members and also our new members in the inner circle for our new level of membership, which is called our grow level. It's going to be it's a bonus mastery class for our grow members. So what does the moon have to do with magic? And why is the moon like a magical ally for people?
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about this in two different ways. One, we'll talk about it in terms of the transiting moon and where the moon is, as we go through our 28-day, it goes through its 28-day cycle. And then I'm also going to talk about it in the context of our natal moon and what is the symbolism of the moon. And I'll start there because I think when we talk about astrological magic, a lot of people want to go right to how do you work with the full moon and how do you do moon water and what rituals do you do on the new moon? But I think understanding what the moon symbolizes is like a good foundation point, because even if you don't know all the details of how to work with the transiting moon, you have a moon and it has needs. And the moon is, I'm going to get esoteric now. So astrology gives us a way of really understanding the full depth of the self. And the moon's symbolism, the glyph of the moon, as we can look actually just behind you, you can see that half circle. Anytime you see a half circle, you're seeing a representation of soul. Now, soul, so the symbol of the moon is the half circle. And soul is, we separate spirit and soul. Spirit is the full circle. So it's the sun, the energy of the sun. And then across in a glyph, in astrological glyphs, is matter. So it's physical stuff. So the soul is the part of our spiritual being that holds memory, that holds, it's the karmic imprint. It holds our emotions. It is sort of I think about it as the great well of the embodied wisdom. So it's a lot of our fears, a lot of what we attract without our conscious awareness. And the spirit, which is represented by the sun, is the part of us that wants, that has a sense of where we're going, and it's a spiritual purpose. And it's how am I going to use my life force energy, my light in the world? So the soul and the moon, as a representative of that, draws to itself experiences that are for healing, that are for growth on a spiritual, emotional level. So when our own natal moon shows what we attract to us without a lot of attention, a lot of work. If you have this awareness came to me one time, Amanda, when I was working, I had a whole series of clients with Aries moon, and they were all female clients, and each one of them was calling me and they were saying, we were in sessions and they were saying, gosh, I'm in this conflict with so-and-so and I'm fighting with so-and-so and I'm in a legal battle. And I was like, why are all these people attracting conflict in a really overt way? And I realized that the moon, if you're not getting your moon's needs met, then this is where you're going to attract growth opportunities. that, so you'll attract, it's like where you can attract in a business chart, it's your audience, it's your customers. So it's like who draws to you without a lot of effort, but it's also, if we're not integrating spirit and soul, it's what we can attract into our lives in a way that challenges us to grow and to be more intentional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Will you be going through the nuances of that in the mastery class? Like what happens when, like I have a Gemini moon. So if I'm not getting my Gemini moon needs met, what kind of experiences am I going to attract? Will you be going through each of the moon signs?
I will. And I can tell you, as someone with a Gemini moon, I've thought about this a lot. And busyness, too much communication, overwhelm with talking, with technology, with detailed work, having too much you want to do and not enough time.
Wow.
Does that resonate?
That definitely resonates. Wow. So if I'm not getting my Gemini moon needs met, and if I'm not expressing my sun, is what I'm hearing. So it's a combo, right? Yeah. So whatever our sun is, and that moon has needs, if we're short on those things, then we're going to attract kind of, would you say like the shadow aspect of our moon sign?
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
And one way, and the moon, so the moon also gives us the antidote for that. So when you start feeling with the Gemini moon, if you start feeling overwhelmed by busyness or too much to do or scattered energy, then like sitting down and reading a book.
Yes.
Listening to a podcast.
Right.
Like really being present for taking in information, sitting down and journaling, writing. The moon shows us what to lean into to feel safe and to feel whole. There's the shadow side that we attract, but we also attract, having a Gemini moon, you attract great conversations. You attract people who love to talk. Think about it. Who loves to talk more than an astrologer?
Wait, we could talk for eternity. So we just talked about our natal moon and what kind of glimpses we can get there. What about magic and the transiting moon? So the new moon, the quarter moon, the full moon, the different phases of the moon.
Yeah. Working with the moon in magical practices in intentional ways is like, if you're going surfing, finding the perfect wave to get up on instead of like paddling out forever in a slow ocean. So it's really about capturing the energy and the essence of a moment and using it to support your manifestation.
Hey there, astrology lover. I really hope you're enjoying this episode. Now, I've been hearing from so many of you that you love astrology, but you barely have any time to make sense of it or work with it in your life. It can be overwhelming, we know, which is exactly why we created our brand new level of Inner Circle membership called Grow. For Grow members, we're making it easy for you to integrate the gifts of astrology into your daily life. As a Grow member, you'll get short, distilled, new and full moon snapshot videos from me. I'll lead you in an intention setting ceremony each new moon. You'll get personalized horoscope insights and daily cosmic pulse texts delivered right to your phone, plus lots of amazing bonuses. Join before January 12th to lock in the founding member price of only $17 a month. I hope you'll join us. Go to astrologyhub.com/growfounder to get started today. We do this a lot in our current level of membership in our Inner Circle. And in the new level, we will be doing it in very simple, easy, practical, quick ways. So, but with that said, if someone's intrigued and they want to get started on their own, where would you say is the right starting point?
I think the first starting point is just looking at the lunation, just the phases, the lunar phases. And in my tradition that I studied, the new moon is a time you plant seeds, you offer intentions. And the new moon, it's the sky is completely dark. And most creative processes, if you're a writer, if you're a painter, if you're a mother, you know that those sparks of possibilities spark in the dark. When you're quiet, when you're by yourself, a baby incubates in the uterus, in the womb. And seeds start sprouting long before they see the sun in the dirt. So creative processes incubate in the dark. And the dark, we're pulled more in. So the new moon, we actually feel more tired. So these have an electromagnetic and other types of frequencies. Every point of the lunation cycle is going to feel different in our bodies. So this is the time to plant seeds. This is the time to create. Then when we get to the first quarter moon and the moon starts gaining light, that's when we have a little bit more awareness. And usually that's the point in the lunation cycle when we have a sense of this situation over here isn't working so well. Or, I really wish I would have done this. So we get a little bit of a redo. This is where we have a challenge between what we need and what we want, or what others need and what we want. Then the moon is waxing. Anytime the moon is waxing, that's a good time for a calling in ritual. That's a good time for offering your intentions. When the moon is full, that is a peak point when we have the balance of the sun's light, so the sun being spirit, reflected on the moon. So it's this hot spot, which is the soul. So we have an integration of spirit and soul. And this is a time of where you can do this is a great time for rituals, depending on what the moon is in. But we're just talking basics right now, just general. Then as the moon is waning and the moon gets to that fourth quarter stage, or that third quarter stage rather, that is when we have a real clear sense of what's not working. And it's like, so this is a good time for releasing. This is a good time for healing. This is a good time for doing any sorts of clearing, disconnecting, saying no, doing boundaries. And then we get to that very last phase, the balsamic phase of lunation cycle. And there's a lot of activity. Right before a new moon, you probably noticed that all storylines in your life are colliding at once and everybody's feeling frantic. And this is because the cycle's starting anew. And right before a new cycle, we have to do a lot of letting go. So the balsamic moon is that time of letting go. It's a time when we want to be still. We don't really want to be offering a lot of intentions or doing manifestation. We want to be doing things that are more supportive of our emotional selves. And then we get to the new moon and we start over.
Do this in the modern world.
Yeah.
How do you integrate this knowing of these phases and what's great at different phases of the moon cycle with the fact that we live in a culture that is go, 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 never stop, produce, produce, produce? How do you balance these things in your life? Or how do you recommend your clients do that?
Yeah, this is the question for these times, Amanda. You just hit the nail on the head. I think this is what happened. This is some of what we're going to go back to we started to talk about as the patriarchal culture gained momentum, and we started really closing off from our ritual practices, from our connection, our deep sense of connection with the moon and the earth and nature. We started to disconnect from that part of ourselves. And so I think, the fact that we're having these conversations now, I think, we have the power, all of us, to start to move more toward a changed reality. So one really simple way to do it is to get your calendar out at the first part of every month, or, women have cycles, and our cycles correspond with the lunar cycles. So there are times in our female cycles where we have, like, at the first 2 weeks of our cycles, we've got that, it's like a new moon energy. It's like, what can I do? What can I do? And then we have ovulation, and it's kind of like the full moon. And then we go into the quiet 2 weeks. So you can use your own moon cycle. You can use, mark your calendar. So many great calendars out right now that have the lunation cycle. And so you can kind of take a couple of days off, or just really slow down your activities. Don't plan extra stuff. I mean, we all have to work. We all have families and responsibilities, but see if you can give yourself a few nights off during that time, or plan your activities accordingly. One thing I want to add to this too, because I can hear it as a question in some people's minds, people who know astrology, is that the moon changes signs every 2.5 days, roughly. And you can also work with the moon by looking at what sign the moon is in and coordinating your activities around that sign. For example, my favorite example is when I'm working with really creative people, or people who, are musicians, and or people who advertise. I'm not organized. I'll say designate the Virgo moon every month to do your bookkeeping, to clean out your closets, to go through mail, whatever challenging organizational activities are hanging over you all throughout the month. Just set aside those 3 days. Or when the moon's in Capricorn, when we naturally feel more oriented toward work. Conversely, when the moon's in an air sign, we want to talk. So when the moon's in Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, those are great times for a gathering or a party. And I know you might say, what does this have to do with magic? Well, magic is the energy that puts us into wondrous relationship. It's relating with, it's participating with the forces of nature, creation. So everything in our lives can be magical. Everything can be a ritual. You can have a dinner gathering on an air sign moon, and magic is going to ensue. As long as you create the space for it and you have the right intentions, there's no way you can stop magic. There's ways that you can slow it, but you can't stop it. It wants to course through our lives.
There's also ways that we can ignore it and just not appreciate it, right? It is happening all the time, but we can just like fly right by us and we're not even noticing because we're so distracted and busy. And you went through great activities to do on an earth sign moon. You did air. What about water and fire? Like what are and I just wanted to mention, you can literally Google what sign is the moon going to be in tomorrow, or what sign is the moon going to be in on any day, and it'll show up. So you don't even need to have an app. You literally can just use Google. So it's everywhere and totally accessible. So tell us just a few suggestions about what we could do on fire signs and or water signs.
Yeah. So fire sign moons, I love to do all of my promotional rituals. Anything that is in a Sagittarius moon in particular. If I'm doing anything creative, I love the Leo moon, and I do a lot of art rituals and art. Like I use art in ritual context, like that painting behind me is astrologically oriented. So if you want to use art, or you want to create something that relates to like confidence or energy, or gaining momentum for something that you want to accomplish, then the fire sign moon is good. anything with competition. I would say that those would be good fire sign activities. Fire sign moons also, again, promotion. So anytime you want to spread something out into the world, like a wildfire, obviously we're not talking about spreading wildfires, so just wanted to be very clear about that. But if you want something to really carry, then a fire sign moon. And our water sign moons are great for fertility rituals, love rituals, healing. Water signs are what we call our fertile signs. So they are, they're going to hold the energy of creativity. So another great time to do, you could do divination rituals with water sign moons. We're just really open to our connection with spirit.
What can you give us an example of an art ritual?
Yeah.
Like what does a ritual look like to you?
So a ritual can be anything in your everyday life. We all have daily rituals we do. We take showers, we brush our teeth, we cook dinner, or even just grabbing a protein bar can be a ritual. A ritual is anything that we're doing with intention that brings us into communication with the divine or with the forces of magic, nature, that makes us feel connected. And so there are really formal rituals that you can do, and like a full moon ritual where you are making moon water, for example, or making a talisman. Rituals bring our ideas. They help to connect the invisible with the visible, the material. And so they are ways that we bring things out of the imaginal realm and out of the stage of ideas, and into tangible form. So they involve symbols. I love the example. So I'll talk about like formal rituals, which would be your like your solstice ritual, your like a ritual that you would do for a specific purpose. I think about these more as like ceremonial rituals. And those usually involve creating a process of creating sacred space, welcoming in the forces of nature, making that connection, like invoking the divine, however that appears for you, or however you like to call the divine, stating your intention, offering gratitude, doing something to symbolize that intention, and then offering gratitude, opening the circle, blessing away. Now, every single religion and spiritual practice has its own forms of ritual. Most of them that I know, all of them I know, contain this format, even the Catholic Mass. So only the Catholic Mass throws things like reconciliation and atonement, and but the symbol of the body and the blood of Christ is a way of that connection of bringing the physical in, the spiritual into the physical. So these are universal, even if you don't consider yourself a witch or a wizard. Everyone has rituals. So those are the formal ones. The informal ones are like, for example, when I'm making dinner. If I'm making dinner for myself and my wife or my friends, I have a big pot, I have a different color, what are they called? Like Dutch ovens. And then I have a special spoon that's inlaid with stones. And I make cooking my ritual. So I'm offering intentions. I'm putting very specific things into the food. You can take a shower and have that be a cleansing ritual, like cleanse my aura. Brushing your teeth can be an homage to Saturn. Like everything has an astrological correspondence as well. Your your skin, your hair, your brushing your hair, everything means something. Everything in the physical means something in the invisible. And so I think that it can be really easy when we're working with the moon and astrological magic to get very detailed about lunar mansions and fixed stars, and I think it can scare people away. Like, I can't do it. It's too hard. It's too detailed. But if you know that it's really like, it's actually the moon works with your own natural rhythms. So listening to your body, if you have that sudden urge to look up and, and offer gratitude, that's magic. That's practicing magic.
I was going to say the same thing, Rachel, that the beautiful thing about this is that you can go as nuanced and technical and deep as you want, and you can add layers as you're ready for them, but you can start as simple as where we started, just talking about. You could literally just start with the new and the full moon and just leave it at that until you're ready to bring in the quarter moons, until you're ready to bring in the zodiac sign that the new moon is in. So you can literally just layer it as you go. And at every phase of that development, you're going to be experiencing more magic in your life.
Right.
So yes, I love everything that you've shared. Anything that our Inner Circle members should know about the mastery class that you're teaching? Any other details that we haven't covered that they're going to get to learn about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will be talking about lunar I'm a big fan of going deep, So while we're talking in really simple terms about how anyone can do this, Inner Circle members are going to learn what your own personal needs are according to your moon, what you attract and why. And so we're going to go through each one of the moon signs like we did with Gemini, like we did with Aries. Then we're also going to I'm going to bring in some things from the Picatrix, which is, a really good reference for astrological magic, and some other resources that I have. And we're going to talk about how to time things, using some of those key concepts. So we're going to get really detailed in terms of your own personal chart, and then we'll go into some of the nitty gritty of how to best, if you really want to make talismans or to make art talismans or make tinctures, or if you want to do things that are working with magic in very practical ways, then we'll talk about how to time those and ways to do that.
Rachel, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure. For those of you who are interested in working with the moon, working with magic, we will be doing that quite a bit in our new level of membership. You do have an opportunity to become a founding member of our new tier of membership, which is the most accessible, quick and easy way into our Inner Circle membership. It's light, it's easy, and we have designed it so that it really integrates into your daily life. You don't have to actually go do anything. It's all just delivered right to you. So for those of you looking for that everyday magic and that everyday connection to nature, it is all available to you there. And then Inner Circle members, you get access to all the things that the new level of membership get, plus all your really cool things like your mastery class teachings and your more technical new and full moon forecasts, which your astrologers provide. So this is all happening right now. Rachel, you are such a gift. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast, for being one of our teachers in the Inner Circle. We're so grateful for you. And if people want to find your book, where would they go?
Yeah, you can Amazon? Amazon or anywhere you like to buy books. It's called Modern Day Magic: 8 Simple Rules to Realize Your Power and Shape Your Life.
So
and,
cool.
And I also have a children's book called As Above, So Below. And that one came out this year. And it's just a really sweet little bedtime story for kids that lets them know how connected they are to the cosmos and to the stars and planets.
Oh my gosh, that is the coolest. Thank you so much for mentioning that as well. We'll put the links for the books in the description of this episode.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody, so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for making astrology and magic a part of your life. And we'll look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.